Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Nun Tes Amud Beis at the very top. The Gemara continues its discussion on Birchas Hashvach veHoida'o. The Mishnah tells us there are certain things that you see and you make a bracha. Oisei Maise Bereshis. Says the Gemara quoting the Brayse Tonu Rabbanon. Haroye Chama B'Tekufasa. A person sees the sun in its original place where it was put in Maise Bereshis. Levana B'Gvurasa. The moon in its strength, again, where it was put in its original place in Maise Bereshis, not to be confused with Kiddush Levana. V'koichavim v'mesiloisam, and the stars in their orbits. And this refers to those kochavim that are the planets that we see visibly with our own eyes. Again, where they were placed in Maise Bereshis. Umazolois kisidron, and also the constellations where they were placed in Maise Bereshis. Oimer Boruch Oise Bereshis. In all of these things, a person will make the bracha Boruch Oise Bereshis. Our minhag is only to say the bracha on the Chama, what's called Birkas HaChama. The other things, the minhag is not to say the bracha on those. Ve'emas have. Ask the Gemara, Gabe Birkas HaChama, when indeed does a person make such a bracha? Omar Abaye Kol Chof Ches Shonin. Every 28 years, Koyach, the Gvura of the Shemesh. V'hodar Machzor V'noflo Tekufas Nisan B'Shabtoi Ba'orta Tlas Noge Arba. Abai explains every 28 years when the sun returns to its original position in the heavens in Shomayim, and there is going to be Tuesday at the end of the day, which is really the beginning of Wednesday night, Yom Revi Balayla. That's when a person will make the bracha, and the minhag, the Chazal said to say the bracha in the morning, when a person will see the sun early in the morning, Zuizim Magdimin LeMitzvahs, as early as possible. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Haroya Hayom, referring to the Mishnah that says that a person sees the Yam HaGadol. Either that means the Atlantic Sea, the Atlantic Ocean rather, or the Yam HaGadol, the Mediterranean Sea. And therefore it's called Gadol because it's next to Eretz Yisrael, so it gets its Gedula, its title of Gadol, in that way. Says the Gemara, Liprokim, he says it Liprokim. He says it every once in a while. Ask the Gemara, Ad Kama, what is considered Liprokim? Amar Rabbi Bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yitzchok, Ad Shloishim Yoim. He can say the bracha again only after 30 days. Until 30 days, he makes that bracha. And then only 30 days later, not including the day that he saw the sea, then he will make another bracha only after that time has elapsed. Because only then there's an impression, a strong impression, the person who's making the bracha about the grandeur and the greatness of the Maise Bereshis that he's viewing right now, the sea. Omar Rami Bar Chamo, Arba rather, Omar Rami Bar Abba, Omar Yitzchok, Ad Shloishim Yoim. V'Omar Rabbi Abba Bar Chamo, Omar Yitzchok, Haroye, another statement that he makes, Haroye Pras Agashro de Bovel. If a person sees the Euphrates, the Nile Pras, he makes a bracha Omer Boruch Oise Bereshis. V'ha'idna, now the shenuya parsoi mi beishibur ule'el. Now, however, since the parsoim, they dug into the ground and they redirected the river, therefore you would only make the bracha from the place of beishibur and above, because beyond that, lower than that is where they redirected the river. Rav Yosef are meihi dekira ule'el. Rabbi Yosef argues and says, no, they redirected even further down, and therefore only above, or further up rather, and therefore only above the area of Ihi, the Kira, can a person make the bracha of Oise Maise Bereshis on the Nahar Pras. Omar Rabbi Barcham Abba Haroyet Dagelas Agishra Dishabsisna Oimer Boruch Oise Bereshis. If a person sees the Nahar of the Tigris, then when he stands on the Gesher in the area of Shabsisna, he'll make the bracha Oise Maise Bereshis. My Chidekel. What is Chidekel? What is the river, the Tigris River, Chidekel? Why is it called Chidekel? Omar of Ashi, Shemeimov Chadin V'Kalin. It's a contraction of two words, Chad and Kal. Because its waters are Chadin V'Kalin. They're sharp and they're Kalin. They're light. Light in the sense that when a person drinks them, they don't have sediments and therefore they're healthy for a person. They're not heavy. My Pras, what is the Nahar Pras? Why is it called Pras? The Euphrates? Shemeim of Parim Verovin. Because the waters, they are Parim Verovin, they multiply. Either because it doesn't get any rain in that area and the waters nonetheless become even more overflowing, or because they have the ability to then water all the area around it, causing those things to grow. Therefore, they're considered to be parim verovin, those waters. V'amar Rave, hay de charife b'nei mechuza, the charifness, the sharpness of the people of mechuza, mishum de shasu maye de dagelas. It's because they drank indeed this water of dagelas, of the chidekel that we said before, which is a reference to the Tigris River. Hi, the Gichuri, these people that are ruddy, that are very red, Mishum de Mishamshe biyamamas, because they did Tashmish Mita during the day, and therefore the offspring became very ruddy. Vahai de Naidi Ainaihu, and the reason why their eyes might be jutting back and forth is Mishum de Dairu, the base ofel, because they lived in a dark home. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah regarding Geshamim, and interestingly enough, the Mishnah says, Al Geshamim ve'al besuros toivois. A person makes a special bracha of hatoiva hametiv. Says the Gemara, ve'al Geshamim hatoiva hametiv mevarich. He makes the bracha of hatoiva hametiv on Geshamim. And again, it's interesting that besuros toivois is included together with Geshamim. That means when a person sees that it rains, it's a besura toiva, although it might cause some sort of inconvenience perhaps, but a person has to keep in mind the great benefits that the joy of the water is bringing, and therefore he makes a bracha of hatoiva meitin. The Gemara is going to explain. When does a person make a bracha on the geshamim? What is the amount? When the chasen goes out to greet the kala, it's a mashal to explain when the water of the rain drops hit the bottom of the ground, and the ground has enough water that when the rain hits it, so then it also then comes up and splashes upwards. That's the reference to the chasen going down and the kala coming up to greet him. My mevarchin. What is the bracha that one says on this? Omar Rav Yehuda moidim anachnu loch al kol tipa v'tipa shaharata lonu, on every drop that you have brought down for us. Rabbi Yochanan mesayim bo hochi. Rabbi Yochanan add the following words to this bracha of moidim anachnu loch tipa al kol tipa v'tipa shaharata lonu. Ilu finu mole shira kayam, the nishmas. Ein onu maspikim lohoidos lecha Hashem Elokeinu. Asher tishtachave baruch ata Hashem roiv hahoidos. Ask the Gemara, roiv hahoidos, most of the hodos of the thanksgiving, velo kol hahoidos, but not all of them. Omar Rav ve'ema hakel hahoidos. Say the Hashem of the thanksgiving, which would include all. Omra Papa Hilkach Nemrinhu Litravayu. Therefore, say them both together. Roiv haoidos v'hakel haoidos. Ve'elakasha. So now we're left with a difficulty, because at the beginning we explained that the bracha is hatov v'hameitiv, like it implies from the Mishnah. And yet this statement over here says the bracha is different. This is a bracha of moidim anachnu lach al kol tipa v'tipa. Says the Gemara, lo kasha. Ha deshama mishma, ha dechaze mechzi. When a person hears about the rain, so then that hearing, that besura of the rain, that itself will then give the bracha. We cry the bracha of hatov v'hameitiv. Let's say the night before he hears about the rain. However, that which he sees the rain falling to this amount, to this degree of a chassan that's yoytze likras kala, then he'll make a bracha of moidim anachnu lach al kol tipa v'tipa. Says the Gemara, the shama mishma hainu besuros toivois. When he hears it, that is besuros toivois. And yet the Mishnah separated two and said, when he has geshem, and also when there is besuros toivois. Vitnan hal besuros toivois, when he hears good news, omer baruch hatov v'hameitiv, which implies a separate thing other than the geshem. Ela idi ve'idi dechazi mechzi. Really, they are both when you see the geshem. Because indeed, if you would hear good news, that's called besuros toivois. Geshem is something else. That's when you see the geshem. Velo kasha. Ha da'ase purta, ha da'ase tuva. When it's a little bit of geshem, then a person says, moidim anachnu lach al kol tipa v'tipa. When it's a lot of geshem, then a person says the bracha of hatov v'hameitiv. Says the Gemara, even when there's a lot of geshem, you still can explain what seemed to be a contradiction. When a person has his own field, so that person who has his own field makes the bracha hatov v'hameitiv. When a person does not have his own field, then he makes the bracha moidim anachnu loch al kol tipa v'tipa. Islay aro hatov v'hameitiv mevarech. Ask the Gemara, when a person has his own field, that's reason to make a bracha hatov v'hameitiv. V'ha tnan, behold, it states in our Mishnah, bona bayis chodosh, v'kona kelim chadoshim oimer borshe hechayonu v'gyonu lazman hazeh. Sheloi v'shel acherim oimer hatov v'hameitiv. So we see when it's only for yourself, if you acquire, for example, a new house or new kelim, then you make a bracha shehechayonu. When it's you and somebody else that will benefit, then you make the tov v'hameitiv. And yet over here we're saying that if a person has his own field, he'll make the bracha of hatov v'hameitiv. Says the Gemara, lo kasha, ha di'is le shutfus, ha deles le shutfus. When a person has his own field and he's a shutaf with somebody else in that field, then he makes the bracha hatov v'hameitiv. Whereas a person who does not have a shutaf, then he'll make the bracha shehechayonu. Or rather, he'll make the bracha of moidim anachnu loch al kol tipa v'tipa. I asked the Gemara, and the Gemara says, not the question, but rather, benichusa v'hatanya kitzu shel davar. And the Brisa indeed quotes a klal over here. Al sheloi hu omer bo shehechayonu v'kiyimonu. When he himself is personally benefiting alone, then he makes the bracha shehechayonu. Al sheloi va'al shal chaveroi omer baruch hatov v'hameitiv. And indeed, when he himself, together with somebody else, benefits, then the bracha is a bracha of hatov v'hameitiv. V'kol heicha deles la'achrina b'hadei lo mevarach hatov v'hameitiv. Ask the Gemara, if nobody else, is going to then also benefit together with him, will he not make the bracha hatov v'hameitiv? V'hatanya, asked the Gemara from a Brisa, Amrulei Yolda Ishtoi Zocha. They tell him that his wife just gave birth to a baby boy. Oimer Baruch Hatov v'hameitiv. It says that he makes a bracha hatov v'hameitiv. Answers the Gemara, Hasam Nami Diika Ishtoi Bahadei Deneicha La Bezochar. His wife is also happy to have the boy, and thereby it's not just a benefit for him, but also for his wife. And thereby the bracha is hatov v'hameitiv. Toshma, the Gemara brings a brisa, Meis Aviv v'hu Yarshoy. If Chalila, a person's father passed away and he is Yaresh him, Bitchila Oimer Boruch Dayan HaEmes, Ulvasoif Hu Oimer Boruch HaToiv HaMeitiv. He makes two brachos. First, he makes a bracha of Dayan HaEmes on the Petira of his father. Then he makes a second bracha for the Yerusha of HaToiv HaMeitiv. Ask the Gemara, how could that be? Hare, he's only getting a Yerusha for himself. It shouldn't be HaToiv HaMeitiv based on the klal that we just expressed before. Answers the Gemara, Hasam Nami, Diika Achi, the Koyarti Behadei. He has a brother that's being Yarish together with him, and therefore he says, HaToiv HaMeitiv. Toshma, the Gemara brings the following brisa. Shinu yayin ein sorich levorich. When there's a different wine, he doesn't make a different bracha, an additional bracha. He makes the bracha only of bori pri'agafen. He doesn't make another bori pri'agafen when new wine is being brought. Like all other birkas hanen, and if he eats an apple and a different apple is brought, so he doesn't make a new bracha ha'etz on the second apple. So too when it comes to the wine, he doesn't make a bracha bori pri'agafen again. Shinui makom tzor levarich. If he changes his place, he goes to another house, that person will then make another bracha because there's hesach hadas. So they'll make another bracha on that new wine of bori pri'agafen. Ve'om Rav Yosef bar Abba Am Rabbi Yochanan afal pi she'amru shinui yayin ein tzorich levarich. Even though one does not mean to make another bracha bori pri'agafen on new wine, aval oimer boruch ha'toiv ha'meitiv. But he does make a bracha toiv ha'meitiv. So the Gemara is asking, hare, again, he's only benefiting himself when he brings out a new bottle of wine. Says the Gemara, no hasam nami dika b'nei chaburo deshasu behadei. There are others who are also partaking in that wine, and therefore, if there's a bottle of wine that is unknown to him, that just appears afterwards, it was in the wine cellar that they didn't know about, or it was brought from the outside, and that wine is now being served, so there's a bracha that they make of hatoiv vehameitiv.